Hey there, Jason Whiteley with you. I'm at Union Park in Chicago. This is where one of the largest protests is being organized right now. This is a pro-Palestinian group. Here are some of the signs that they have. A rally is going on behind us over there. I didn't want to get too close because I want to make sure you could actually hear me. The rally is going to end up into a march, and the folks here are going to march from Union Park, which is a little northeast of the United Center where the Democratic National Convention is being held. They're going to march from here about a half mile down towards the DNC to try to deliver a message to Democrats. Their message is simple. They say, listen, we want to end financial aid to Israel. That's the message they're trying to get across. It's in signs everywhere. More signs right there too. The Palestinian flag is also everywhere. We also obviously saw a tremendous number of Chicago police officers out here. Really making sure no one gets hurt. If people are heading towards the streets, they closed a lot of streets. Chicago PD has been great. A lot of people are curious how they're going to handle this. I think there's 11,000 total police officers on the force. I haven't heard a single critical thing about any of the police activities so far. Not to say there hasn't been, but I just haven't seen or heard anything over the last 2 days in all the protests. For a while, there was a small group of Christians. This small group had the Star of David flag, the Israeli flag, and they were out trying to counter-protest this massive protest and talking about Israel and saying, listen, the problem is not Israel and its response to a terrorist attack back on October the 7th. They say the problem here is Hamas and the actual terrorist attack. Here's kind of maybe a better view of what's going on here now. I'm on the back end of it over here, trying to show you how many folks are here. They were anticipating potentially up to 30,000 people might be taking part in this. They're going to march about, I said a half mile earlier, it's actually 1.5 miles is how long they're going to actually march. They're anticipating 30,000. I would say there's several thousand people here. Don't know for sure, it's hard to count. You have to estimate this group. But if I had a drone and was able to fly it, then I would show you that. How many physical folks are here. There's a decent shot. Before we got over here for this rally that began at noon, we started with the Texas delegations in downtown Chicago, and the Texas delegation had a number of speakers. This was their first big meeting. It was a breakfast meeting. That's the way all these are. And the breakfast meeting, they had a number of speakers. San Antonio Mayor Ron Nirenberg spoke to the crowd of about 300 or so delegates and guests and elected officials from Texas. Also there was Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear. He spoke at length to the Texas delegation. Pause for pictures as well. All week they're going to have a number of different speakers talking to the Texas delegation. Each state delegation will have the same high-profile list of speakers that are kind of circling through and cycling through all the different states. So tonight at the DNC, prime time, the first night of prime time starts this evening at 5:15, I believe, when speeches start. And one of the first speakers tonight is Dallas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. She's going to be on stage just looking at the schedule. I'm guessing about 6:15 or so. She'll be one of the first ones. And then, of course, the big primetime speeches tonight are going to be from President Joe Biden and former New York Senator and former Secretary of State and former First Lady Hillary Clinton. So it's not going to be a farewell speech, we are told, from President Biden, but instead kind of a victory lap, though this will no doubt be his final speech in front of an audience this big. Since there are so many people watching, not only in the United States, but in Europe and Asia and different parts of the world. Nevertheless, this is the second of 5 days of protests. Quite a few folks here, and depending on the reception that these folks get from Democrats, that will determine probably how many other folks show up in the coming days. The other big protest is going to be Thursday. There's going to be a protest also at the Israeli consulate here in Chicago. A lot of things going on, a lot of folks here, 50,000 delegates and guests going to be a part of this convention here. A lot of politics, a lot of protests, just as you would expect at any national convention. We'll talk to you soon.